Alrighty. Today, we've got 28 weeks later. So, yeah, it's been a while since we did 28 days later, but with 28 years coming, well, now in the theater, which I'm going to be seeing tomorrow, I figured I should probably get 28 weeks reviewed before I do 28 years. So, yeah, let's get on with that, shall we? So, you know the drill, spoiler alert. I'm going to be talking about the film, events in the film, the ending, etc., etc., etc. And, yeah, you don't want spoilers, skip ahead on the timeline to the little section that says, like, thoughts and review or whatever. And we'll try to make that as spoiler-free as possible. So, what has happened to good old Britain since we last left them off? So, at the end of 28 days later, we had our hero Jim, Selena, and the whole gang. Well, there's three of them, but what? The whole gang, I guess, of three. On an island, they send out a little message saying, help, plane flies over, all the infected are starving, boom, beautiful, end of movie. So, where does that leave us now? Well, we don't know what the hell happened to Jim and them, so they're not in this. Which, you know, initially I was like, aw. But, we got Robert Carlyle. So, that's a win. Yeah, he's one of those actors that I just, you know, everything from like Ravenous to Trainspotting, he's been really solid. So when I heard he was in this, like way back in 2007, of course, I was like, okay, I'm in. Sure, we don't have Cillian Murphy reprising his role as Jim. We don't have any of the original cast, but that's fine. Taking a look at the series in a total, it's more of a, you know, like a universal, like what's going on in the world. You know, that story was great for the first beginning of it. It was a very fantastic, you know, introduction to the world of the rage virus. Now we're gonna go look at what happens when shit kind of hits the fan a little bit more, right? So we're introduced to this group of people. The only real people of importance that I already said spoiler alert, but the real important people that don't die in this first scene are Dawn and Alice, husband and wife. Dawn played by Robert Carlyle. So there's my boy. Anyway. He's not so much my boy, because we have them sitting down at dinner, and they're, you know, talking about everything, and there's a little bit of a argument about stuff, and all of a sudden there's a bang at the door. It's like, oh crap, what the hell is that? And they hear, like, a child screaming from outside. That's not good. Protocol is essentially, sorry you guys out there are on your own, but Dawn lets the kid in. Good on you, Dawn, you know what? He opens the door, sees the kid panicking, doesn't see any infected around just yet. Kid comes in, they feed the kid. Say, what the hell's going on? He says, yeah, they were chasing me, my parents, but they weren't my parents, etc. Well, you know the whole drill, right? They change and boom. No longer someone you love, just a rabid, crazy monster. Anyway, this kid somehow survived that. He's chowing down on these noodles, he's super pumped. They're looking out still. One of the people in this group is peering through like a crack in the wall or whatever. It's like it's an old shed or cottage or something. I guess they did the best. Sorry, my alarm went off for my tea is ready, but it's gonna have to wait. Boiled water, so I'm not gonna have cold tea. Don't worry, guys. It's okay. It's just the water that will stay warm. My tea will not be ruined because you're very invested in that, clearly. Anyway, we're going back. Whatchamacallit. And now my friend's texting me right in the middle of me recording this. See, this is how professional these are, you see? And this is what you're getting on this channel. And that's how I want it to be. Raw and stupid with just... Anyway, it doesn't matter. If you're here and you're watching this for the first time, I apologize, that's what these are. If you're here and you're coming back because you find it amusing or you think I'm ridiculous or stupid, well, there you go. We're good. So back to the frickin' point of the story. We're in the cabin, kids eating. One of the people are looking through the crack in the cottage or whatever. I guess there was like a wall down that they patched up as best they could with wood, but there's still slots that you could see out. Maybe they did that deliberately so they could watch for infected, whatever. Anyway, boom, infected come. All hell breaks loose. breaks through the wall, bites this woman. Everyone's panicking. They're running. People are getting bitten and turned. This elderly couple is ripped apart. It's just lovely. Dawn manages to hide upstairs, or Dawn and Alice and the young boy. But the infected are coming, and he's slightly separated across the hallway, and he sees them coming into the room with Alice and the boy, and Alice is screaming, "Dawn, help me!" And Dawn's like, fuck! And he closes the door and runs. So he leaves his wife. Of course, there's a nice shot of him looking back, running for his friggin' life, as his wife is like banging on the window screaming, and then you just see her like gone, like yoink. So that's fun. Then we got another buddy on the dock who's prepping a boat, and he's like, "Dawn, get in!" So he gets in, and this guy pushes the boat and then goes to jump, but falls in the water. Infected get him essentially too. Dawn sails off along the river. He survived. Everyone else in his entire thing is dead, including this poor boy, I guess, right? So that's unfortunate. He had a good run, I guess, for all of 30 seconds. Yeah, and then we cut to fast forward. And we get a little recap of what's happened since the end of 28 Days Later. So essentially, that was occurring in Britain somewhere else while Jim was dealing with all his bullshit, essentially. Or shortly after, one or the other. Anyway, it's along the same period of 28 days. So they go along the lines of saying, so initially the infected broke out, Britain was quarantined, the infected died off, a UN force was sent to Britain essentially to safeguard it and assist with rebuilding and re-establishing the nation. The UK. I don't know what happened in Northern Ireland since it's kind of separate. So I assume that they, along with the Republic of Ireland, were fine, I guess. I don't know, maybe they closed off the bridge or something. But the British part of the United Kingdom is in ruins, in shambles. So England, Wales, and Scotland are in trouble. Anyway, we're in the rebuild phase. So yeah, like I said, infected have died off, essentially. But there are still bodies and contaminated things all across the country. There's a very small safe zone in, the Isle of Dogs or whatever, in London. That's cleaned up 100%, and they're finally allowing people who were outside of the country when all this happened back into the country and basically busing them there. Any survivors that were on the island that survived and aren't infected are now living there. They've got jobs. We find out that Don is actually there working in the city. He's kind of like an all-access... They call him a janitor or something, essentially, but he's like maintenance kind of stuff, whatever. So he has like an access card that can get him anywhere in the city he needs to be. He's doing that kind of general stuff. He's a pretty good job, essentially, and he's got a cushy apartment and everything. Anyway, plane lands. His kids, who had been in Spain during this whole ordeal and are finally allowed to return home. Fuck, that would be a thing, eh? Sorry for swearing. Whatever. You don't care. Fuck. There you go. Did it again. Anyway, they land. They get all these like medical scans and what to make sure that they're not infected. They notice that these two kids. The two kids, Tammy and Frick. Is it Andy? I think. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So the mother. Alice had this, I don't know what the condition's called, but you have like a blue eye and a brown eye. So you got like the two colored eyes. Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, Andy has that too, so he inherited that from his mother. Which, that's a cool thing to have. I've seen dogs that have that. I don't know how common it is in humans. Really doesn't matter. Why am I talking about that? But anyway, that's a little feature of him that he has. So he's getting scanned. There's no signs of infection. They're allowed basically into the District 1, they call it. That's what they call that Isle of Dog area in London, or around London. I don't know exactly where it is. I assume it's in London because everything's like surrounding it is London, but whatever. Anyway, they're allowed in there. They reunite with their dad, and they ask what happened to Mom. Is she okay? And Dad sits them down and says, "Listen." And he tells the story, essentially how it happens, except he kind of lies. He says that he tried to go back for her, but it was too late. She was essentially gone. Without saying she got killed, he says she got killed, basically. So the kids are processing that. In the meantime, we're introduced to... we were introduced to a character by the name of Scarlet, who's like a medical UN soldier person who basically tested the kids and made sure that they were clear and everything. And then there was a general whose name I don't remember, but played by Idris Elba, so that's cool. It's actually a pretty loaded cast. We got him, we've got Carlisle, we've got who else? Jeremy Renner is in this, Hawkeye. So anyway, whatever, doesn't matter. We are introduced to Hawkeye's character, so his character is Doyle, so that's what we're calling him, and his buddy Flynn. They're two soldiers, UN soldiers from the United States that are basically on sniper lookout duty. So they're looking into apartments, making sure there are absolutely no signs of infection, scouring the streets. Like, yeah, it's cleaned, yeah, it's quarantined, but you never know. You cannot be too safe, like, you can't be too sure, especially when the rest of the island, like Britain, is still infected, essentially. Yeah, they might have technically died out, but you don't know. There could be one or two that live that they just don't count. Like, there's no way to account for every single, infected out there, right? And then also the fact that birds and cats and dogs are feeding on some of the corpses that still hold the infection. Yeah, they're dead, but they're still, the virus is still in them. And even if the cats and dogs and whatnot don't turn, if they bite someone, like, all kinds of things could happen. So it's just a safeguard. They got these snipers and military presence on this place. Anyway, so that's where we're introduced to those two. Basically, Flynn is a helicopter pilot, and Doyle is a sniper. That's their story. So whatever. Okay. The next day, after the kids wake up bright and squirrely, Tammy has a brilliant idea, which isn't that brilliant in the long run, but she decides, you know what? My bro here, Andy, he's missing his mom. He doesn't even have a picture of her. Dad said we can't go to our old house, but you know what? We're going to go to our old house. They break out of the quarantine area and all that, and they sneak across into dead Britain, essentially. The area that still has, like, dead bodies with infection and all that stuff. Very biohazard-y, if you will. It's not airborne, though, so that's good. But, I mean, there's still so many things that could go wrong. It's a stupid decision. Anyway, whatever. They do that. Doyle ends up seeing them, and he's like, where are you two off? He radios it in, essentially. In London, these kids are in the main area of the city now. I guess they're traversing it to get to their old home. They find some pizza delivery scooters. So Tammy's like, okay, that's a cool idea. I'm gonna go get the keys. Like, they're having fun. They don't grasp, I think, the reality of the situation. So Andy waits outside with the scooters. He's all excited. Yay, we're gonna go driving on scooters. Woo, fun. Tammy goes into the pizza place. Immediately, reality hits her. There's, like, rotting food on the tables, like pizza on plates, rotting. It stinks. There's, like, a body decomposing behind the counter that has the keys on it. And yeah, reality hits her pretty harshly there, so she snaps out of it. Anyway, she goes and gets the keys and comes out, and that's when they head off to their home. And they find their home. That's fantastic. Things can't get any better, right? Can they get worse? Well, I mean, yeah, look at what movie we're watching, right? So anyway, go in the house, they're looking through stuff. There's all these little cute pictures they drew when they were kids. They grab a picture of their mom off the fridge. They're exploring the house. Excuse me. Andy is jumping on the trampoline outside when he's like, wonder where Tammy went. So he goes in to find her. There's like a room upstairs. I guess maybe it's the attic, and it stinks. There's like food and bowls all over with like half-eaten rotten food. And then he sees movement. So someone or something is up here. Clearly, guess what? It's Mom. Yep. Alice survived that initial situation there with the original break-in when Donnie heroically ran off with his tail between his legs. So she's alive. She's freaked out, but recognizes her son. Immediately they hug. Then the military shows up. Yeah, I mean, they were radioed in. You can't be in the infected zone. What are you doing? Anyway, they end up taking the mom. They see that she's clearly not exhibiting any signs of, like, the rage virus, so that's fantastic. Whatchamacallit, Scarlet, the doctor lady, major person. I think she's a major. I think they said that at the initial part of the movie. Anyway, she is doing samples on her and basically confirms, yeah, there are no signs of, you know, the virus inside of you, but we have to take a blood sample just to be sure, you know, yada, yada, yada. Put you in quarantine. As soon as you're cleared, though, you'll be good to go. You can see your kids and your family and all that. And she's like, okay, groovy. Turns out she is a carrier, so she's not immune to the rage virus, but she doesn't exhibit symptoms of it. That's huge, right? I mean, most people, they get infected, they're one of the infected. Alice, on the other hand, she's essentially good. But what it means is that any of her bodily fluids, blood, mucus, saliva, pee probably, I don't know, is infected. And if it enters the bloodstream of any other person, it's still contagious. So this is big too, though, because they can use it to potentially figure out a vaccine or maybe even a cure for it, which would be massive, right, for Britain and for the world and everywhere. Like, that's just great. So let's keep her isolated in top condition. Unfortunately, before word that she's infected but a carrier and still contagious gets out beyond her immediate peers, Dom wants to see his wife. Yeah. So he uses his access card to get into the facility where she's staying, finds her, has a little genuine heart-to-heart, apologizes to her. She's like, I thought you were gone. And she's like, dude, like, I still love you. We're good. Don't beat yourself up about it. You know, we're together now. And they share a little kiss. And that means there's saliva involved, which means a bodily fluid entering the body of Don, who very quickly, within a matter of seconds, starts to turn. His eyes go all red. He's coughing up blood, etc. Poor Alice. The key to everything is like Don. And of course he turns on her and kills her. Bites her, rips her apart, smashes her head in multiple times. Very romantic. Eve. Yeah, and he runs out. So he's out there now. There's a little quick montage of him taking down various soldiers, so that means the virus is spreading. Word of this gets out. Code red, essentially. Like, any targets outside that you see, basically, Doyle is free to shoot the infected if he sees them. Be on the lookout. These people are corralled into like a containment area, I guess, and they lock them in, and Andy's in there, and unfortunately there's another door along the back that I guess they didn't secure very well, because lo and behold, Dawn shows up, starts banging on the door, breaks in, everyone's trapped like rats, all hell breaks loose. I mean, you can imagine what happens. That's what happens. So good old Dawn starts to spread it throughout that entire crowd. The sheer force of people pushing on the main locked door breaks it open. They spill into the streets, infected chasing. Start opening fire, but I mean, yeah, you're only designated to shoot the infected. Well, like, yeah, in this madness, when you're on a rooftop looking down at, like, everyone running, and we're talking, like, civilians and infected are running, like, how do you know on a split fraction of a second which is which? But the snipers, including Doyle, are doing their best to take out specifically infected people. But it gets out of hand eventually to the point where General Elba, sorry, I don't remember his character. Stone! General Stone! Haha, excellent. he gives the order essentially, yeah, just take out everyone. It's lost again. We got to start from scratch. Just take them all. If they move, shoot them. Most of the snipers like, okay. And Doyle's like, all right, I really, like, and he's looking around and he starts taking out anyone that's moving, infected or not. He's kind of hesitant a little bit. He sees Andy in the crowd and is sort of, I guess, compelled to protect this kid a little bit. So he's shooting infected as they get close to Andy. One's like right in front of him, shoots him. The blood sprays on Andy, not in his mouth or eyes, thankfully, so that's good. And he takes off. Eventually he reunites with Scarlet and Tammy, who are together in like sort of a warehouse facility with a bunch of other people hiding, because essentially they go out. If the infected don't get them, they get sniped. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? What do? You hide and you wait. So they're in this warehouse, etc. They're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Eventually Doyle shows up. He's had enough of this. He's like, yeah, we're getting the fuck out of here. So he goes down, ends up running into these people, says, listen, I'm leaving. Like, his plan essentially is to call Flynn and, you know, let's get the hell out of here. But a couple people decide to go with him. Most of them are fodder, let's be honest. But, yeah. So they make their way through the streets and whatnot, and snipers are occasionally picking off individual ones. Scarlet gets shot, not fatally, luckily. It was in the leg, so she, like, quickly, being a medic, that's handy. She patches it up so she's able to still, you know, slowly and in pain, still traverse the area to somewhere a little bit better. Most of the people that follow, I think there were like 5 or so people that followed Doyle. Like, I don't really remember. Anyway, it's basically down to now just Tammy, Scarlet, Andy, Doyle, and one other dude. So they have to get out of the city, which they eventually do. He draws the fire by... Andy runs out because they're trying to argue who's going to go draw fire so that Doyle can get a shot on the sniper so they can traverse, but Andy just runs, and so Doyle's like, fuck, and he quickly grabs his rifle, and a couple shots miss the kid, he shoots the sniper, they're good, they escape. Anyway, they exit the main city area into like an abandoned amusement park and sit down and kind of recuperate and reflect, like, son of a beach. So the bro insists, they're obviously like, listen, we don't split up anymore, all right? Yeah, Andy says, I saw Dad, and Tammy's like, oh, okay, is he okay? Yeah, he's infected. Okay, well, that's not good. You think Mom's alive? Yeah, probably not now. Oh, forgot to mention, too, as they were escaping the city, there was like he was talking to Flynn on the radio, and Flynn basically gave him a warning of basically they're going to firebomb the place, so they have like a limited amount of time to go, and that happens. They end up going into like a tube, the tube is like the subway system, I guess, or like the underground, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so that happens. Oh man, just a whole lot of running and freaking out about stuff. Anyway, they end up in the city again. I guess the little rural area was like just a park in the city or something that they figured they'd traverse. While they're resting there, the whatchamacallit, doctor lady, so good with names, right? Scarlet, thank you. Basically tells Doyle, listen, like, these 2 kids, their lives are significantly more valuable than mine or yours. Why is that? The mom was essentially immune to the side effects of the virus. These kids, there is a good possibility that they inherited the same genetic trait from their mom that would make them invaluable medically. And Doyle's like, okay, I get that. I get you now. Anyway, yeah, they head into the city. There's a whole firebomb thing. They escape in the tunnel. They end up coming up and back in the streets, and then lo and behold, we got the toxic gas. So they're gassing the place. That ain't good. They quickly find a car, get into it, lock the doors, roll up the windows. They're trying to start it as the gas is coming around. Infected are swarming the car. Gas ends up killing the infected, so that's great. But then the real threat happens. You see the flamethrower crew in hazmat suits with flamethrowers, basically torching things as they approach out of the fog, or out of the gas. Car won't start naturally. Doyle's like, shit, okay. Pop the clutch, put it in. They're going to try to do like a push start, which they do. So he runs out, he covers his nose and mouth as best as he can to avoid inhaling as much of the gas as he can, and he starts pushing the car. It works. The engine finally kicks in. Unfortunately, the flames engulf Doyle, and he dies in a noble self-sacrifice to save all of the other people. They are going through the city trying to escape this gas. They end up going into, like, driving into a tunnel, essentially, as there is now an attack chopper chasing them. Yeah, like, they escape the gas, and then right away there's, like, an Apache helicopter following them, shooting at them. So they go down the stairs in this car of the subway. The tube, as you will. So they're in there, it's pitch dark. Scarlett has Doyle's gun, essentially, so she's using the night vision scope to see where they're going and telling the kids, essentially, like, cling to the wall. Doing her best to not traumatize them by having them step on bodies, but unfortunately there's an area where there are so many that it's just, you can't escape it. They're stepping over skeletons and whatnot, and bodies, and all that fun stuff. Eventually they're somewhat briefly separated, and lo and behold, there's Dawn again in his infected glory, who ends up killing Scarlett, basically taking the gun out of her hands and smashing her head in with the butt of the gun. Wonderful. Turns, finds Andy, who's I guess by an exit, essentially, so there's enough light that he can see what's going on. Dear old dad attacks his son, bites his neck, kid's screaming. Yeah, is this the end? No, it's not. You can't kill a kid. That's just one of the rules, unless you're, like, in a really, like, grindhouse type, you know, trauma style movie. You're not going to kill a kid on screen. So he doesn't die because Tammy comes in and shoots dear old dad multiple times and saves him. Of course, Andy, realizing, shit, I'm bit, he runs off into the tunnel. He's like, don't follow me, I'm gonna turn, blah, 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 blah. He collapses. Tammy follows him anyway. Just, I mean, sure. But it works out because apparently he did inherit the same gene that Mom had, so he's not infected. They go through the tunnels, essentially. They eventually end up in, like, Wembley Stadium, where Flynn is waiting with the helicopter. He's like, where's Doyle? And they just look down. It's like, yeah, it's just us. He's like, all right, get in. And he takes them across the channel. So, into mainland Europe, where, you know, it's not infected. So that's good. But then we have a nice scene of the infected running through another tunnel and emerging into the daylight. And it's like a blast of bright light. And as everything comes into focus, you notice, oh shit, that's the Eiffel Tower. The infected are now in France. They've crossed, I guess they went through the channel or something. Maybe that wasn't closed off or whatever. But yeah, they're on mainland Europe. So that's where the movie ends. Boom! Oh, a nice little added touch as the scene between the kids being taken to Europe and the infected arriving in Europe, it says 28 days later at the bottom. So that's a nice little throwback. That's the end of the movie. They're in France now. Shit. Where do we go from here? Well, we'll find out, I guess, when I watch 28 years later. What did I think of this film? Okay, so first of all, 28 Days Later, in my opinion, is... And, I mean, again, who the hell am I? But in my opinion, it's a masterpiece of, like, 2000s horror for me. I hold it in very high regards. If you've seen my review for it way back, I mean, last year, I think it was, like, my 9th or 10th or something review. It was, like, really early. Anyway... Super high marks on that one. Love it. Acting in that was great. Every story was fantastic. The world building, the intro, fantastic. How did this one hold up? Well, you can't just repeat exactly what happened there. So, the intro scene establishing the character that... Well, the main character of the first segment of the film, Dawn, was very good. It's establishes okay. It's, I guess, a few days into it or whatever, and you know their stronghold is there and they're doing their things. Yeah, story was good. The whole thing about someone being immune to it. I mean, that's how many people are there in the UK? There's probably going to be someone with a genetic, not deficiency, I guess it'd be a genetic efficiency that would make them immune to the symptoms of this virus. So that makes sense. The whole fact that they're like the sacred cow, essentially, that makes sense too. The military involvement, the way they handled the cleanup and everything is pretty good. You know, the fact that the infected died off and they've established like a clean sweep of this one small area that they're finally allowing people to stay in. It's heavily guarded still with like snipers and a large military UN force. I mean, that makes sense because you can't be too careful. So everything was thought out pretty well as far as developing the world and setting it up for this 28 weeks after the 28 days later type movie, or since the outbreak, I guess, in general. So that's cool. The acting, solid. Like I said, you got a pretty stacked cast, so I have no complaints about anyone's acting whatsoever. All pretty much top notch, especially my boy Robert Carlyle. Love the guy. Idris Elba, phenomenal. Renner, great. The kids were good. I don't know the actress who played Scarlet, but she was decent. Everyone was solid, so that's good. One thing I did like is they carried over like the 28 days later music, like the theme. That you'll know what I'm talking about. The main theme to it in a couple of parts of this film, making it, you know, obviously it's connected because of the whole situation of it, but even like musically it feels connected to the first film, which is great. That's kind of what you want. It's like those little member berries, I guess, right? But I mean, it wasn't so long after the first one that you know, it is stupid or whatever. But I mean, when I was watching like Jurassic World and I heard the original Jurassic Park theme, I was like, yeah, right? It's that kind of a thing, you know. But overall, it was really good. The gore was good, like well done, I should say. It wasn't excessive, but the parts where it was done well. Yeah, I can't really think of anything bad to say about it. Was it as good as the first one? I mean, no, it wasn't as good as 28 Days Later, in my opinion. But it's so rare that a sequel is as good as the original. Like, the only two I can think of off the top of my head, and I think I brought these up in other reviews too, but like, Aliens and Terminator 2 are just as good, arguably better than the first movie for different reasons, and it's rare when that happens. So the fact that this one held up as well as it did, yeah, it didn't surpass the original, but still a good watch. I hadn't watched it for a couple of years actually, so I jumped back into it kind of not remembering everything that happened, and yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly, so that's good. What else can I say about this here? Let's give it a rating. Let's drop a rating on this. I want to give it 7s for sure. I'm thinking actually high 7s. 7.7 I'm gonna say, because it is good. I can't speak English apparently. See how my words are happening here. Yeah, this is what you're getting. But yeah, 7.7. I think it was a worthy follow-up to the original movie. Yeah, it didn't surpass it, but it is still good enough, keeps the flow of the storyline, continues in the world that had been established in the first one very well. Based on the amount of time and the events that they describe in the intro, you know, leading up to the quarantine city, it's realistic, essentially. And then ending off with them in France. That's just, okay, well, there we go. The decisions of one young girl to go out into the city that she wasn't supposed to do ends up being a good time all around. Not so much. I just did spoilers in the part where I wasn't supposed to do spoilers. Oops. Oh well. Anyway, that's my review. 7.7. Should you check it out? Yeah, you definitely should check it out. Watch the first one first if you haven't, though, because that's the staple. You got to get everything. It's so good. I know it's a review of 28 weeks, but 28 Days is so good. Just watch it and then watch this one. It's worth it. Do it back to back or do it the next day. It's a good little duo here. I just hope that 28 Years will be as solid as the first two. I will let you know, though. But due to the timing of this and all that, we're going to have one more review before we get to 28 Years Later. So tune in for the next release, which will be The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which is totally different kind of movie, but yeah, we're going to take a look at that one, and then we're going to jump into 28 Years, and I'll let you know what my thoughts on not the closer of the trilogy, because there's already planned more of them or whatever, but yeah, I know Cillian Murphy's involved in 28 Years, so that's kind of cool. I don't know to what extent, but we might see Jim again, so that's cool. Anyway, that's my review. Check it out.